The first time I saw Karen stomping across my backyard in leopard print rain boots, waving a tape measure like it was a sword and yelling into her phone like she was launching a military strike, I knew something was seriously wrong. My grass was underwater, my garden looked like it had been hit by a biblical flood, and I could see water pouring in from her yard like she'd rerouted a river through my property. This wasn't just a soggy inconvenience, this was suburban sabotage. See, I'd just gotten home from a brutal 12-hour hospital shift, and all I wanted was coffee, silence, and maybe 10 minutes on the couch before I collapsed. Instead, I got chaos. Karen, our brand new HOA president, had apparently decided that the community drainage needed emergency redirection, which in her word meant dumping her runoff straight through my yard, no warning, no consent, just pipes shoved through her foundation like she was playing real-life SimCity. I stood there at my kitchen window, coffee mug in hand, watching her squish around in my flooded yard while shouting something about community improvement. Her husband Bob, a tall, boarding guy who had the energy of a dog that knows it's done something wrong, was crouched behind the shed, pretending to be busy while she ordered him around like a medieval queen building a moat. And then I saw the sign. A laminated sheet planted right at the edge of my yard, like she was claiming territory, driveway drainage, temporary inconvenience for community improvement. I actually laughed out loud. Not out of humor, but out of that exhausted, stunned kind of laughter that only happens when your life suddenly turns into a bad sitcom. I called the HOA office. I figured surely someone would say, "Oh, wow, that's a mistake, we'll fix it." No. Instead I got Janet, Karen's loyal second-in-command, who sounded like she'd rather be anywhere else. She told me very calmly, almost smugly, that updated HOA guidelines allowed for minor landscaping changes for emergency water management. I asked if minor included turning my backyard into a swamp, and she replied, "Dead serious, some sacrifice is necessary for the greater good." That was the moment I realized this wasn't going away. Next morning, the water was deeper. The daffodils I'd planted the weekend before were now floating, and the mulch beds were rearranging themselves like tectonic plates. My neighbor Steve, always good for dry sarcasm, walked by and said, "Hey, had you volunteered to host a rice party? Should I send over a canoe?" I managed a half smile. "Only if it comes with lifeguards." Around noon, I walked outside and saw the HOA had fully assembled on the sidewalk like it was a spectator sport. Karen was in her folding chair, clipboard in hand, issuing commands. Bob was digging a trench with a garden trowel and doing it badly. I sloshed over, boots thick with mud, and said, "Karen, why do I need tie charts to let my dog out?" She didn't look up. Just muttered, "It's preventative drainage, Greg. You'll thank me when your foundation survives the next big storm." I told her I must have missed the chapter in the HOA handbook titled DIY Hydraulics 101. She just checked a box on her list and kept going. That night, my basement sump pump, which had never turned on before, roared to life. The digital readout lit up with gallon after gallon of groundwater. I stood there, watching it like it was a countdown clock. That's when it hit me, this wasn't just annoying anymore. It was expensive. My home insurance deductible nearly cried. So I got to work. I started reading local codes, digging into nuisance laws, checking everything about property lines and water flow. I wasn't about to start a war, but I also wasn't gonna drown quietly. The next escalation. I came home to find a bright orange construction barrier stretching across my backyard, with another handmade sign. "Work zone, do not enter." My yard. My actual property. I snapped a photo, texted it to my cousin Melanie, a lawyer, with the message, "Can I sue if the villain wears a fanny pack?" Her response, "Document everything. Let them dig their own grave." So I played it cool. I smiled. I waved. I kept quiet while they kept building their personal water park on my lawn. But I logged every single move. Footprints, new pipes, the evolving trench network like something out of a low-budget war movie. And then, one Saturday morning, the final straw, Karen knocked on my door. She didn't ask. She announced that the HOA would need access to my yard for some routine checks. I raised an eyebrow. Routine? Like constructing the Panama Canal through my flower beds. She sniffed, said I was being uncooperative, and handed me a list of things she planned to do. I took it, smiled, closed the door, and started my own list of every single violation, every inch of pipe, every photo, every timestamp. That same afternoon, I woke up to a gargling sound. My sump pump was dying. Water had climbed halfway up the basement wall. I sat in soaked socks, holding a cup of black coffee, phone in hand, scrolling through my legal options while trying not to scream. Melanie replied fast, trespassing plus property damage equals lawsuit. Don't warn them. Let them keep going. So I did. I walked my yard, in old boots and wore sweatpants, snapping photos like a private investigator. Karen waved from across the fence, that condescending kind of wave, like I was a toddler making a mess in the sandbox. It's all for the community, Greg, she called out. I didn't answer. My yard had become a crime scene. Pipes cracked under the weight of their trenching. There some pump shot water straight through a busted elbow pipe onto my tomatoes. Tire tracks dug deep into my lawn. The HOA board showed up for a so-called emergency drainage review, and Karen used the moment to paint me as the problem. Some neighbors are less cooperative, she said, eyes locked on me. I walked up and asked, do community drainage plans come with flood insurance? She tried to shrug it off, but I saw that flicker of doubt in Janet's eyes. A few board members even whispered apologies. Later that week, a city inspector showed up. Mr. Ramirez. Clipboard, camera, the whole deal. He measured everything, shook his head a lot, and muttered, yeah, this isn't to code. When he saw the pipes directing water into my yard, his eyebrows nearly hit his hat brim. If they crossed your property line to do this, it's trespassing. And if they alter drainage patterns, that's a violation. I handed him a flash drive. Every photo. Every log entry. He nodded, told me the city would follow up. A few days later, I got a certified letter from the HOA accusing me of non-compliance and inciting unrest. Classic Karen trying to turn the story around before the truth landed. Melanie told me not to respond. Let them panic, she said. We are filing a cease and desist. The turning point came fast. Mr. Ramirez returned this time with a younger assistant, a topo map, and bright orange flags. They marked the actual property line. Turned out, Karen's entire drainage setup was 5 feet over the line, fully on my property. Suddenly, neighbors noticed. People who'd been quiet started speaking up. Linda from 2 doors down left a plant on my porch with a note, "We're with you." Then came the bombshell, a city letter sent to me and the HOA, ordering all drainage work to stop immediately and threatening legal penalties for any future trespassing. That same day, the HOA board held a vote and Karen was removed as president. Just like that. Her empire crumbled. No more emails. No more laminated signs. Bob stopped digging. Karen stopped talking. That night, I sat on my porch with a cold beer, watching the sunset over a soggy but peaceful yard. No drama. No trench warfare. Just the quiet sound of frogs returning to what used to be a garden bed. And for the first time in weeks, I didn't feel like I was fighting alone. My neighbors waved again. Steve offered to help reseed the lawn. Even Janet, bless her heart, apologized for misjudging a few things. Yeah, no kidding. The yard's still recovering. But the message is clear: you can only push people so far before they push back. Karen crossed the line literally and legally, and she found out the hard way. So let me ask you, what would you have done? Was I right to document and fight back? Or should I have just let the water flow and hoped it'd pass? Tell me in the comments, I wanna know where you draw the line.